Welcome to Diary of an Ex-Ho. I'm Cheri Hardman. I'm your ex-ho, and this is the show where we talk to comedians about their love lives. Today's guest is Lynn Deal. So sit back, enjoy the show, and remember the old saying, always a bridesmaid when you're a hoe.
I'm Lynn Deal. I'm a Portland-based comedian. I'm bisexual. My pronouns are she, her, and I am in a relationship with very much the last man I will ever date. It's the last one.
Yeah, I get that. That's funny because I was thinking about that earlier today. I'm like, I think, I'm done, but my husband is pretty high strung. He could drop dead anytime. Like, do I even want to do this again? I don't think so.
Yeah, I told Jordan straight up, I was like, you're the last man I will ever date. Like, after this, no more. No more men. You're a good one. I'll keep you, but goddamn, no more.
All right, we're going to do a game of Marry, Shag, Kill. So
Cool.
Let me go get that.
I'm excited. I watched some of your older episodes. I saw the games, and I was like, oh, I hope I get to play Marry, Shag, Kill. Fun.
All right, we're doing Marry, Shag, Kill. So you got to marry one, shag one, kill one. I try to orient it to the person. I know that you're somewhat a political person. So we're doing the anti-Trump activist celebrity edition.
Oh, okay.
So these are three celebrities that do not like Trump. We have Don Cheadle, Elizabeth Banks, Mark Ruffalo. I know we've got a moratorium on men, but we're just playing right now. So who are you going to marry? Who are you going to shag? Who are you going to kill?
Dang. This is a tough one, not going to lie. I like all three of these actors and activists as people. And I think they're, from what I've seen, decent celebrities who haven't fucked up too much. I could be wrong, but I haven't heard anything on the contrary.
I typed in, is Don Cheadle problematic on everybody that I looked at.
Right? Are they cool or
don't want to slip up?
Yeah. Whew. Okay. All right. This is rough. Okay. I feel like all of these people are marriage material. I feel like they all would be good spouses. I just feel like they got that. They got that I got your back energy. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. I don't want to kill any of them. That's the problem.
I know.
That's the hard. I'm like, who would I kill? None of them? Okay. I guess I have to pick who I'd want to fuck and who I'd want to marry most, and then that just leaves the last person as unfortunately someone that needs to die. Okay. All right. I feel like I first I was like, oh, I have to marry Mark Ruffalo. But then I was like, I don't know. I feel like he's got a little bit of sad boy energy. And I've dated enough of those.
Right.
I would fuck him, but I don't know. I mean, he did a lot of sex scenes in that movie with Emma Stone, the Good Things. No, it's not what it's called. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Poor Things. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to kill Mark Ruffalo. Sorry, Mark. I'm starting with kill because this is the most painful decision. So rip off the Band-Aid. Sorry, Mark Ruffalo. I would marry Elizabeth Banks. I feel like she's got a good directing career. She's moved up in Hollywood, but she's not really in the spotlight that much. I think she'd be a good sugar mama and she would be a legitimately good spouse. And I don't know that much about Don Cheadle, but the way he's smiling in that photo, I think he'd be happy to be there. So I'm going to fuck him.
All right. Good one.
That was tough.
All right. Well, right. When it comes to sex, would you rather watch or be watched?
Interesting question. I think I would rather be watched because I feel like if I watched, there's this little religious homeschool kid inside me, and I do a show at a sex club, as you know, and you'll be on it again soon. But I feel like if I'm watching, I get too giggly or something. which like is not appropriate, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm like covering my eyes with peeking. So I'm just like, I'm too much of a dork. If I was to watch, I feel like they would ask me to leave. So I guess be watched because sometimes that can be fun, I guess. I mean, that's why people have sex in places that are semi-public because you're like, that can be
Right,
fun.
right. So you've never watched anyone have sex at the sex club where you do a show?
I've stayed long enough to where there's like, some things happening, but as far as like people actually fucking, I
Mm.
feel like I'm not supposed to watch. I think it's just like, and then it's fine. They probably do want you to watch them, but I just feel like I'm like, well, I don't know. I didn't get personally
Right,
invited. I couldn't be here.
right.
So me and all the comedians are usually dorks after the show. You can tell who the comics are because they are
Yeah.
embarrassing.
I remember when I went last, I don't know if I told you this, but my husband was sitting out in the audience and I was in the back in the green room or whatever. And then he
Mhm.
comes running over and he's like, this couple came and sat with me. And I'm like, I'm worried they want something. It was fun.
Oh my gosh.
Scared
What do
the
I
shit
do?
out of him. When you were young, what did your parents or whoever raised you, what do they call private parts?
Um, Private parts was actually one of the most common ways they would describe them. Um, I don't think there was like bottom. We weren't allowed to say butt because that was like a bad word. So obviously we couldn't say anything more crass than butt, but bottom was what we would call a butt. Um, and then we didn't really like talk about genitals. They were just called private parts, which I don't think is actually good for children to not know what the names of things are because then people can be weird with you. Um, so I think it's important to just say what they are and not have a weird little cutesy nickname, especially working in childcare. I'm like, children should just know
Mhm.
what all of this stuff is. It's not weird to know. It's weirder to not know and then have other people tell them what it is. But yeah,
Yeah.
mine, hmm?
So, okay. That's
Yeah, my family was just like, it's a private part. It's private. Never talk about it. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't seem good, but sure. Did y'all
were
have
your
any like little nicknames for private parts? Now I have to ask you because I'm curious.
our family called for some reason we called the vagina a bottom
Mm-hmm.
and a penis was my brother called it a wiener. I remember
Mm-hmm.
that. Because like he went on a Ferris wheel, he was like 3 years old, and he's like, "It made my wiener tingle." But I don't remember hearing my parents say wiener, so I don't really know.
Yeah, front butt was one, I guess. I had heard that one before. Instead
Hmm.
of vagina, a front butt, which I think is like so much weirder, but
I
whatever.
know, yeah. It's like poop comes out of it. I don't think
Yeah,
so.
it shouldn't
But we
if you're
didn't. We
wiping.
weren't. We weren't really allowed to say but. Sometimes it was okay, and sometimes we would get in trouble. So it just kind of never knew. Can I say but right now or not?
Yeah.
Weird. Uh, were your parents good relationship role models?
Not really. Um, yeah, grew up sheltered, religious, homeschooled. Um, yeah, they like fought a lot, mostly about like money and stuff. And I think my dad was more conservative than my mom. And now that they've been divorced for a while, my dad's remarried, my mom's living her best life. Like they were just very, very different people. Even when I was a kid, there was times where I was like, huh, opposites attract? I don't even think these opposites like each other. So, I mean, they can, I think, but if you're too opposite and you can't like see from the other person's point of view or respect their differences, then I think that's never going to work out.
Right. So, how they did their relationship, how has that affected you and your relationships? Or
At
has it?
first, yeah, I think it did definitely. I think at first I wanted someone who was like me. Like I didn't want someone that was that different because I was like, oh, well, if you're too different, you're going to hate each other. Um, and I did try and date people like me, like other artists, musicians, comedians, stuff like that. And then I was like, oh, this is like too much chaos. I think there actually does have to be a little bit of a balance. Like one of us kind of has to have our shit together a little bit, and it's not me. So,
Right.
um, so I think all of that changed when I met my boyfriend. Now we've been together like 2.5 years. Um, that's where I kind of realized, like, okay, opposites are important. Like he's definitely more high strung, like you were saying, your husband is. He's a little bit more planned, articulated, more tidy, um, and has like an adult job and all that. But the thing that we both um we both get along well with, and we both like to do together is like be spontaneous, have adventures, meet new people, and travel. And I think like that is nice because that's a nice base for us to like get along. But then in our day-to-day life, I understand that he likes things a certain way, and he understands that I am a wild card, as he says. He's like, you sometimes I don't know what you're doing, and I'm like, yep. And you have to get used to it because it's never going to change. And he's like, okay. So like we've accepted those things about each other. Okay,
Mhm.
you're uptight and I'm chaos, but that's okay. I need
Right,
someone to
right.
like ring me in, and you need someone to let you like let loose a little bit. So it's fine.
Well, and I found, my husband and I are the same way, except we don't have many things in common. That's
Mm.
something that I wish we had, but we're opposites. And I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, but when it comes to money, somebody told me this once. I think it was like one of my therapists said, um, some people money means freedom,
Mm.
and some people money means safety.
Okay. Yeah.
And usually always like a safety marries a freedom. And it's like,
Hmm.
oh yeah, that was us, that's us. It's
Yep.
interesting. Yeah.
Oh
uh
yeah. He always wants a safety net, and I'm like, I just got paid. We should spend it all. He's like, no, 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 we shouldn't. And I'm like, oh, come on.
all right, so I'm going to take you back to what I call your sexual awakening, like when you first realized sex was a thing. Either you heard about it, you saw something, or you felt something in your body. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I knew that like I wasn't really given the talk. I guess I kind of was, but it was like we already kind of knew, like all of us kids kind of figured it out because of, other kids our age just told us about it, or
Mm-hmm.
the internet was pretty new. I was born in 1990, so like some stuff was on there, TV shows, movies, whatever. Even if you were sheltered, we kind of figured some of that out. I didn't necessarily have the talk. When I did, I kind of already knew what was going on. So I was like, please stop talking to me. This is so uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did figure out masturbation pretty young, I'll be honest. I like growing up a sheltered, homeschooled religious kid. I just remember like one time I was like, oh, that feels good, like clitoral stimulation. And I was like, this feels too good. This has to be a sin. So I told nobody. Like, give it to yourself, kid. So I didn't tell anybody. But that like because I kind of discovered that early, I felt like it made it to where I didn't really feel the pressure to want to have sex or explore with another person because I already kind of figured that out on my own. The only pressure to have sex was just like peer pressure more so.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you're that old and you haven't had sex yet. And I was like 17 when I lost my virginity. It's really not that young or old. It's kind of I'm
Right.
average-ish, I guess. But and I remember like having sex and being like, that's it. Like it wasn't that cool or that satisfying. So I just was like, eh.
Right.
And then I, found out later you can use it for manipulation and attention.
Right.
So I did that a little bit in my early teens, early 20s. And then I was just like not that interested in really exploring with too many other people. I don't know. Eh, I feel like once I figured out I can pleasure myself, I was like, I don't really need someone else to ruin this for
Mm-hmm.
me. Because a lot of times with sex with men, I was like, oh, this isn't, you're having a great time. I feel bad because this wasn't fun.
Right. Right. For sure. I think I would say one thing I think that porn has done. I'm not anti-porn, but I think it has taught men um, how to be bad in bed.
Oh, yeah. Because it's not about anything to do with her pleasure. Every time I see a porno and I watch the woman do this, I'm like, oh man, do your job. Like, I get
Yeah.
if she needs a little help, but like, come
Uh-huh.
on, come on, bud.
Did you have any celebrity crushes?
I've had quite a few. I currently don't really. There's not really anyone. I feel like, yeah, I I don't really have any current celebrity crushes, I'll be honest, but I will say some of my earlier ones. I had a big crush on Heath Ledger, rest in peace. I remember watching A Knight's Tale, and I had a crush on both him and Shannon Sossamon, and I was like, uh-oh, I think I like men and women, but I told nobody. Keep that to yourself. I also really had a big crush on Shia LaBeouf before he became really famous, when he was on like Even Stevens and he was doing comedy as like a child actor. I thought he was amazing. Um, but yeah, currently I don't know. I don't really have celebrity crushes. I feel like most of them are shallow or disappointing or not very good people. So I'm just like, eh.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Um, can you think of like, okay, well, you just kind of told me. Next question, like a mainstream movie that actually really had a good love scene or sex scene that turned you on that you always kind of went back to?
Um, there was, yeah, The Knight's Tale was definitely a Knight's Tale was a big one. And then I remember like we didn't have cable because we grew up religious, sheltered and all that jazz. But my grandparents did. So I would watch cable late at night that I was definitely
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to. And there was an episode of Sex in the City, and Samantha was like trying to get pregnant. So she like had all these men go through all of the screening to make sure they didn't have like, STDs or anything like that. And then she just basically had a bunch of dudes bang her. And I remember watching that episode and being like, and it was really empowering because usually it's like gangbangs are like men, dominance, and it's like so gross. But it was like her being like, yeah, all these dudes just come in and that's cool. And I banged 50 dudes. One of them will get me pregnant. I was like, what is going on? I just like I didn't think that was like allowed or something, or that was like an option for a woman to just be like, yeah, all these dudes bang me. It was cool. It's like usually that's such a shameful thing. Like, oh my God, gang bang. Like, why is it when men get a bunch of pleasure from women, it's like she has to feel bad about it and they can like tell their
Right,
friends. So it was
right.
cool to see the opposite where she was like casually talking about it at brunch. And I was like, that's cool. I don't know if that was allowed.
um, okay, so you do watch porn.
hmm
Do you think that's affected your life at all?
Um, Not really because I'm not a man, so I'm not stupid, so I know it's not real.
Yeah.
Like I know it's not. But the thing that I think that frustrates me with porn is I know now there's like more websites that are more like feminist porn and more women driven and more about like her pleasure instead of like what men think is hot. But I remember like being in my 20s and looking up porn and like every time I'd say like put like feminist porn in there, the word anti would get inserted without my permission. And I'm like, oh,
Oh,
that's so gross. I just like feminist porn, like anti-feminist, jizzes all over her face. And I'm like, oh my God. Like it was just so sad to be like, why is there nothing where it's just women are cool with this? Why does it has to be like a dominant thing where men are like, making them their bitch or what? I don't know. It's just super
right,
gross.
right, right.
Um, so it made me like, I don't think it really changed my idea of sex, but it just made me a little depressed because I was like, is sex not a world where women can thrive in? Like even in the industry, is it still about men and their pleasure and them like dominating women? So yeah, I guess it kind of just made me more aware that like a lot of things just aren't really made for women unless you like seek it out. And that's changed a lot, I will say, over like the last 10,
Mhm.
20 years. But yeah, when I was first getting into porn, it was like really disappointing how much stuff was like not about the woman at
Right,
all.
right.
At all.
Okay, what is your idea of amazing sex?
Um, I think that if you're having sex with a man, which I do from time to time, um, I think not being ashamed of like sex toys being part of it. And I think a lot of men think that if you have a vibrator or a clitoral stimulator, that means they're not good enough or something. And I think men should be turned on by that more than anything. Like they should be turned on by women getting pleasure and not feel like they're in competition because it's not a competition. It's not a race. It's really
Hmm.
should be something that two people can enjoy together. So I think good sex is um I do think you kind of have to have some kind of connection with somebody. I mean, I know there's like the kind of freaky stuff where you both are just horny and you bang it out and that's cool. But I think actually like having a connection with someone, wanting them to have a good time is like awesome. And I think oral sex is great. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, but I think that is a great way to like start sex for both parties involved. So, and even like hand stuff and making out. I know that sounds very high school, but like some of that like foreplay and intimacy, people don't really dive into that once they get to a certain age or something. They think that's like, oh, that's just like what horny teenagers do. I'm like, I don't know. There's something about just figuring out what your partner likes with your mouth or your hand or whatever and being in that moment and connecting with them, I think is really beautiful. Because then, like, if you both are really horny and you get each other off in different ways, then like the sex doesn't have to last that long. Sometimes sex can
Right.
last too long. Sometimes I'm like, all
Mhm.
right, bud, you good? You
Right.
ready? Come for me, please. I'm
Yeah.
tired. But but
Yeah.
that's why like foreplay is so fun and just being like intimate. Doesn't have to just be intercourse. There's so many other ways to be intimate and have good sex.
Right. Let's go to the Wheel of Sex
All
questions.
right, let's do it.
The Wheel of Sex questions. Let's share the sound so you can hear me spinning it.
All right, I love it.
Get out of here and go to here. Rude. Put a Chick-fil-A ad on my wheel. Where'd my wheel go? Let's refresh and see. There it is. I hate that question. I'm going to go again because I just had it like on the last show, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything sexual you refuse to do?
Okay. I would say there's a practical answer. I don't think anybody should be doing anal without lube. I think that's you gotta protect your butthole. You need that your whole life. That's just me. I wouldn't without. You gotta have plenty, plenty, plenty. Um, Also, I I don't think I'm a dom, but I really don't like to be humiliated. I know some people that is their thing. So I don't like anything that's like meant to humiliate somebody. I don't find that attractive. I don't think that's hot. I That makes me angry. Like I would beat the shit out of a dude if he tried to do that. And maybe he'd be into it. I don't know, but I might be more into humiliating someone else, preferably men, because I respect women. I would never humiliate a woman. Maybe a man. But yeah, I'm not personally into humiliation stuff and always use lube, especially for butt stuff.
How's your body image?
It fluctuates. Some days I'm like, girl, look at you. Some days I'm like, ugh, girl, look at you. So it definitely depends. I think I think that's a really hard thing because I know that whenever I feel good about myself, what I emulate is a confident person, and that's more attractive. So no matter how you might look at yourself and pick apart what you need to change or what you think you need to change or something, if you feel good in your skin, you are more attractive to yourself and to others. And when you don't, then you're not. But it's really hard to like fake that if you're not in a good place. Sometimes trying on clothes is like a nightmare. Just trying to put on something that doesn't make you feel bad about yourself.
Mm.
And I really strive for comfort. When I was younger, I wanted to like look cute, and I'm like, I just want to be comfortable. I'm like, I'll wear Crocs and sweatpants. I really don't care. I'm not trying to fuck. If I was, if you can't fuck me in Crocs and sweatpants, that's on you because that shit's good. So it definitely fluctuates. There's some days where I feel good, some days not so much. But I'm trying to just remind myself that um, loving yourself is like the biggest step towards just having like a comfortable life in your skin. And that's not easy, but on days where it's not good, it's like, hey, that's okay. Today you might just not feel
Mhm.
that great. Maybe I should take a bath today. Maybe I should take a nap. Maybe I haven't eaten yet. There's some things that you just have to like check in with yourself and like, why do I feel like trash? Oh, because I stayed up really late last night. I didn't sleep. Okay, I feel horrible today. Then today I'm going to take a bath and a nap or something and maybe just do like one self-care thing, nothing crazy, but get your nails done or, you know,
Mhm.
meditate or do some yoga if you're like feeling, uncomfortable and stuff like that. But I would like to feel better about myself, but I think that's just like a lifelong work in
Right.
progress. Yeah.
I want to tell you something about your body that inspired me to change something, and then it turned into a joke.
Okay.
So when I saw you do your set at the Laphrodisiac last time, whenever it was,
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that you didn't shave your underarms.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm an old lady, we all always like that was a big ew. And I looked
Mm-hmm.
at you and I thought, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I'm gonna let my underarm hair grow.
Hell yeah.
So you inspired me, but then I didn't realize that when you get old, your body hair stops growing, right? So I have
Uh-huh.
like three long hairs that just wave in the wind. It's really not exactly what I was trying to accomplish, but my feminism, came out in a very odd way. So,
I love it.
um, what's
That's
the
great.
best compliment? Go ahead.
That's honestly one of the few things I don't feel self-conscious about is my body hair. And I used to for a very, very long time. And then I just kind of stopped because I have really sensitive skin. If I shave, I get razor burn. It gets itchy, bumpy. It looks awful. It feels awful.
Mm-hmm.
And I had roommates in Chicago who weren't comedians, but they're just activist hippies and they didn't shave. So in that house, like all of us were just hairy bitches and it didn't matter. And then
Right.
it kind of became this like douchebag filter for dating in my 20s. Because if
Mm,
they were like,
right.
ugh, you don't shave, I'm like, well, I don't want to fuck you either. Like if you have such a
Right.
weird like aversion to like body hair, when like a lot of
Natural
these
body
men
hair, it grows that way. Yeah.
and a lot of these men would be like super hairy too. And they'd be like, that's not hygienic. And I'm like, well, then shave your armpits, you nasty. Like, it's different. I'm like, you guys don't even wipe your ass. Please explain to me how I'm gross for not shaving. Talking about hygiene, I could smell you through the phone, dude. Get the fuck out of here. Like, I get so annoyed. But now I'm just like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, and I think people who kind of just see each other as humans instead of like we have to be this hot sexual thing all the time. It's like it's so normal. People can have body hair, they can have different, abilities, they can have different like fluctuating weight, scars, moles, whatever. Like we're stretch marks, like we're just human
Mhm.
beings. We're just
Right.
we're just sacks of meat in our meat machines.
Right.
What's more important is the heart and the brain behind all that.
Mm-hmm. All right. What's the best compliment you've ever gotten on your naked body?
Um, I do have, as you can relate, I do have some nice tits. Hell yeah, baby. Boobs, yes, I will say I get that compliment. Tattoos too. I don't have like that many risque tattoos, but I have like a full back piece. And that's always something. I use tattoos as a ways to feel more comfortable with my body too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I've got my first tattoos like on my arms and my hands, places where I felt self-conscious about skin pigmentation, body hair, or just, I didn't like the way certain body part looked. I put art on it and then I feel better
Mm-hmm.
about it. So I will say my back tattoo, I have like ivy on my back, probably that. Yeah. And then I guess my boobs, um, armpit hair also, not always, but sometimes people are really into it. I feel like it's such an interesting thing because like with men, they're either they don't care about it because it's normal, or they're like so into it that they fetishize it and they're like, I want to put my dick in your armpit. And I'm like, oh God. Like they can just relax. Um, but I mean, I've definitely had men be like, your armpits are hairier than mine. And I'm like, yeah, you know it, dude. What's up? So yeah,
All right.
tits, tats, and armpits.
Yeah. um, that's going to be the name of this episode. I got to write
Yes,
that down.
please. Tits,
Um,
tats, and armpits. I love it.
do you have any sexual regrets?
Hmm. Yes, I will say there was two times that pop in my head. One, okay. So my first like sexual interaction with the woman was awesome, and she was a good friend of mine, and I don't regret that ever happening. I just wish I like I wish I had more experience first because I really liked her. I felt kind of like a dude losing his virginity. I was just like, I felt very embarrassed. Like I didn't really know what I was doing. I know what I like, but I wasn't sure. And like we communicated, so it was fine. It was awkward, but it wasn't like bad. I just felt so inexperienced. And I like when I pictured the first time I was with a woman, I was like, I'm gonna crush it because I know what I'm doing. And then I was like, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh God, is this fine? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassing. I'm every dude losing their virginity on prom night. But we're still friends, and I feel like that's something that I can't say for a lot of men that I've hooked up
Right.
with because they get
Right.
insecure. So like we're still friends. She's awesome. And then the other one was my first threesome and my second sexual interaction with a woman. I was very excited, but I didn't know it was going to be a threesome. Her and I were hitting it off at a bar in Memphis, and I had like such a crush on her, and we were talking and having a great time. And then this dude popped up. She's like, "That's my boyfriend," and I was like, "Oh," and like he was into me, but I was into her, and she was like. She said she was a cuck, so she wanted to watch. And I was like, ugh, I don't want to fuck your boyfriend. So I'd say my first threesome, the worst part was definitely the man. It was still like a fun, interesting experience, and they were pretty cool. I'm still friends with her. I don't know where he went, and that's fine. They broke up, but I think I think my biggest regret with all that is because I grew up so sheltered, I didn't really know how to approach like crushes or like initiate stuff like that with women. And I'm glad that like it wasn't that bad, but I guess I just wish that I allowed myself, or maybe I just either allowed myself to be more confident in that or allowed myself to like be not confident and be okay with the fact that like I'm not new at sex, but I'm new at this stuff. I'm new at this kind of sex, and that's okay too. No one made me feel bad. I just felt bad. I felt like as a
Right.
feminist, I should have been crushing push from day one. But hey, everybody's different. I don't know. I figured it out eventually, but the first two are a little awkward.
Yeah. Do you have anything left on your sexual bucket list?
Hmm. I have pegged a dude, and that was definitely on my list for a very long time. I I kind of want to do it again in a different circumstance because I will say, um, it wasn't bad, but he talked a big game and then backed out of it. So he
Mm.
was like, "Yeah, totally into it. Go ahead." And then as we are going, he's like, "Just kidding." I was like, "Okay." Like, obviously, safe word stop. I get it, but I would like to experience that again in a situation where it's comfortable and pleasurable for both people. I think that like we both had this expectation of what it would be like, and I don't think he was really ready. And I also, I thought it would be as easy as just like fucking, but it's not because again, it's anal, lots of lube. You got to be comfortable. You got to relax. It's a whole different ball game.
Right.
So I think doing that again under different circumstances, I'd be interested. And pegging, I mean, it can be with doesn't have to be anal, man or woman, I guess, but like strap on, I would try it again. I would do it again.
Hey, what's your hoe song? Like a song that when you hear it, it kind of wakes up your hoe spirit.
mm, I mean, my neck, my back, my pussy, and my crack. That song. It's hard not to dance to that one when it comes on. Also, yeah, a more current song. I remember when Wet Ass Pussy came out. That song was a jam, and the music video was good, and I loved it so much. And I also loved how uncomfortable it made men, and I thought that was great. I love a good like feminist sex anthem that makes men be like, "Wow, you guys aren't supposed to feel empowered by sex. You're supposed to feel bad about it." And we're like, "Nah, drown in this
Right,
pussy."
right. What's your Instagram?
So all my social media is my full name, Amanda Lynn Deal, except my Instagram because I did get hacked a few years ago, and I couldn't get it back because Instagram has horrible support. So it's the real Amanda Lynn Deal.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
And this is coming out Wednesday. So do you have anything that you want to promote?
Yeah. Every first Wednesday, so this Wednesday when it comes out, I have a show at Orchard's Tap in Vancouver. It's a little dive bar, kind of rowdy. It's like any sort of bar you would do on the road when you're doing comedy. So I have that first Wednesdays, but then also every second Saturday, I have Fucks of Life, which is a curated like open mic with different hosts. That's at Covert Cafe, 4 to 6. And then every second Saturday evening, I have the Fucks of Life, and that is at Sanctuary Sex Club in Portland, Oregon, and that is 8 o'clock. And Cheri will be on this one this month on 2/8.
Ooh, I'm
I'm very
excited.
excited to have you back.
All right, great. All right, well, we've come to the point now where you're just going to tell me a story that has to do with sex in some way, and I'm just going to sit here and listen.
Okay. All right. Hmm. I was gonna use my threesome story, but I blew through it. Okay, let's go. Okay. I remember I was at a comedy venue and I was fresh out of a relationship and I was kind of back on the market. It was a very toxic relationship, break up, get back together kind of thing.
Mhm.
And at this comedy show, the server was definitely hitting on me and giving me the eyes. And my friend had asked me if I thought he was cute. And I was like, yeah, he's cute. And I was all, he's giving me attention. So I feel good about that. And he left his phone number on the receipt. And I was like, oh, I don't feel comfortable like texting him. I don't know. It's just like too fresh. And I don't really know this guy. I don't know. I just felt strange about it. And my friend thought that I was into him enough. So she misread the whole interaction and she gave him my phone number. She was trying to be a good wing woman, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So we were texting, back and forth, and he was a little bit older. He seemed like, it would just be fun to go on a date with someone. So I went on a date with this guy. We went to a restaurant that he suggested that was permanently closed. So I guess he didn't Google it before. So then we just kind of walked around. Um, we got some food. We went to a movie and we saw the movie Nope, with Jordan Peele's like thriller horror movie. And I love the movie, but I was like actually trying to watch it. And he was trying to like feel me up and stuff during the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually like going to movies to watch movies. They're not cheap,
Right.
and
Right.
it's an experience. I'm not into that whole thing. So I was like pushing his arms off me and stuff, and he was just acting very teenagery. And I was just like, dude, read the room. Nope. Like I'm not interested.
Mm-hmm.
So afterwards, I was like very clearly trying to get out of the situation. Like, okay, well, that was good movie. It's time to go. And he would just smoked a cigarette. And I have been a smoker for years. Now I just vape here and there and whatever. But the smell of cigarettes and like cigarette smoke, it like makes me, unless I'm a little bit buzzed and I bum a cigarette. Otherwise, like I do not want it. So he gave me a very slobbery cigarette filled kiss. And I was like, ugh. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go. And he's like, well, you sure you don't want to play pool or something? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll play pool. I don't know why I said yes. So I went and I played pool with him because I thought maybe I was just being weird. I should give this person a
Mm-hmm.
chance. And I was like, maybe it'd be fun to hook up with him. I don't know. Maybe I should just like relax and like stop being so weird and uptight. So we played pool and he was like super touchy feely during that too. And that was like, okay, I don't know. The fact that I kept feeling like no about it, I was like, all right, I should go.
Mm-hmm.
So we finished playing pool and I was like, all right, I'm going to take off. And then he like yells at me as I'm about to leave. He's like, wait. I'm like, okay. So I like walk back over to him. And I'm like, dude, what's up? And I felt like I forgot something, like my coat or phone or some shit. And he's like, do you want to have sex or something? I was like, yeah, or something. And I left. I went to an open mic and I talked shit about him fresh off the date, right on stage. I couldn't hold it back. It was too much. Um, but also during that whole day, I was texting my now boyfriend, and he was like, oh my God. He was like, I went to see that movie with my mom. I took my mom to the movies every Sundays. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Who is this dude? Like, he's just like
Right.
a nice guy who loves his mom and isn't a creep. Um, and then the first date I went on with my now boyfriend, he was like such a gentleman, like quite the opposite of that other date.
Mm-hmm.
And we yeah, we like went back to his house after the date and he just like went down on me. I thought that was amazing. Like he wasn't trying to fuck or anything. He just like wanted to do that for me. Because every time a guy does that for you, it's also so they're like, but now I'm hard. So
Right.
like but that's not what happened. He was just super nice. And I don't know. That was something where I was like, okay, all right. I
Mm-hmm.
think this is the person I'm gonna be with because I in my 20s I was just fucking if I wanted to, whoever. And now I'm like,
Right.
my mid 30s, I'm like, no, if you're annoying,
Mhm.
I can't
Right.
turn it off. I'm not going to be into it. So
Right.
that wasn't a very sexy sex story, I guess. But I guess that was
Right. Do
my
you ever
life.
see that guy? Do you ever go back to that venue and see that guy that works there?
A funny story, Cheri. I I remember kind of putting that whole date like locked it away, and I talked about it, on stage at mics and stuff. But I like didn't really bring it up to anyone who worked at that venue. Well, I started getting more comfortable working at that venue, so I asked one of the servers. I was like, "Do you remember this guy?" And they were like, "Yeah, he got fired for sexual harassment." I was like, yeah, that was a fucking creep. I thought so. Like, I thought it was just me being weird because I got out of a relationship, but I was like, no, he was like really pushy. So yeah, he sucks. He got fired.
And then that's again women, us being taught,
Mm-hmm.
not to like stir anything up and not, like we don't believe our instincts about somebody
Mm-hmm.
sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And he was like very insistent on paying for food. And on a first date, I don't really like when men do that because I feel like that means they think that they can They bought something, so they need something in return. So when
Mm-hmm.
he was like buying food and buying drinks at pool, I was just like, yeah, it's okay. And he's like, why not? I want to do this for you. And I'm like, no, it's not for me. It's for you later.
Yeah,
Definitely not for me, dude.
right.
hmm
All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing you here soon, and this will be out on Wednesday. I'll send you the link and everything.
Sweet. Thank you so
All
much for
right.
having me. This was fun.
Thank you for being on. All right. Bye. Talk to you later.
Bye.